All right, welcome to the Shaka Tank. In the Shaka Tank, we gather entrepreneur stories, how they started, what they've learned, and their faithful journey, and the lifelong principles they carry. War scars and war stories, we've been through them all. Welcome to the Shaka Tank. All right, today, so we have a special guest on episode 1, official. We got my brother, Chad Owens, CO2.
Let's go.
Newly inducted Hall of Famer, Chad Owens.
Wow. That's I'm still trying to get used to that.
Yeah. So I'm also here with Pono and Mike, and this episode is sponsored to you by the Inspire Collective. I love what Inspire Collective is doing. They put together like-minded business folks, and they've done conferences, and I've seen them do like golf tournaments and stuff. But I feel like if we want to reach the next generation of people, right, we're gonna do it in different ways, right? So I think what Mike has been doing with the Inspire Collective has been pretty cool because he's been able to put people together and just, I think, at least that's one of the things that you talk about too is like, putting yourself around the right company and having the right people around you. And I think you've done that throughout your career, right?
I think support system is huge. Without that foundation around you, that grounding, it's difficult. It's already hard. So why make it harder? Try to alleviate some of that by having a firm foundation, right?
Sure,
as we say in family, friends, network, and just as long as it's aligned with what you're trying to do, elevates you, elevates them. You rise, we rise type of mentality.
Yeah. So this is the first time we all got together, right? So
Right.
Look, the Shaka Tank is kind of an experimental thing. We're just kind of figuring things out as we go. And I want to let the listeners and the viewers see that, hey, everything starts at humble beginnings. Chad, you're like kind of an example of that, right? So, I don't know if Pono and Mike have heard your story, but obviously, you're a local legend, University of Hawaii, right? And, you started, can you just share like a little bit about like how you guys,
I think they know probably from UH and on. That's kind of where my name became known, right?
Yeah, 100.
Maybe BYU rings a bell.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stutzman kicking, punting that ball into the stands.
That's the game that everyone sort of just remembers.
Oh, your runbacks were incredible.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it didn't always be that way. You talk about humble beginnings. So my story I think started from, I'm just gonna say this, from the day I was born. Not a lot of people know this, but I think I've said this before. I was born in that adverse situation. I was born 6 weeks early.
Wow.
I was 3 pounds.
Wow.
I was a little tiny thing. I seen pictures of myself in an incubator with all kinds of stuff hooked up to me.
Wow.
Right? So I'm looking at this photo, I'm looking at that, and I hear the stories of how the birth, my mom was a struggle, it was a struggle. And we all made it through, we fought through. And so at that moment, knowing that, and knowing what my story was, adversity fueling me, I was born to overcome things. I was born to be able to endure adversity, to be an example that, anything's possible. And I think that sort of sets the tone for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so, that, and then, going throughout my entire sports career as a kid, being the smallest kid out there, every team I played on,
Yeah.
I was the smallest guy.
I was nearly one of the smallest guys. So where'd you grow up though in Honolulu? What area?
Kalihi
Valley.
Right below, Camp for Housing. So I had a lot of big Samoan friends.
Oh, yeah. So, right by the 7-Eleven, the Jack in the Box.
Look,
Bullock Avenue.
I was headed to Farrington High School.
Really?
That was my path, right? Because I was right there, Kaiwai Elementary, supposed to have gone to Dole Intermediate and then on to Farrington. That was in my future.
Okay.
Right, but I guess God had a different path for me.
Yeah.
So we moved out of that area and moved into Paua Valley. Thank God, because
Paua was nice.
that's where I met my beautiful wife.
It rains there. Oh,
That's where I met
Awesome.
my beautiful wife, Rena. And
Shout out Rena.
But yeah, man. The thing about it, I think everyone has a story.
Yeah. So you're the smallest.
I was the runt.
You was the run.
Yeah, I'm the
run
run.
of the litter.
Yeah.
And so, did you get any cred, any respect, or you had to fight for everything?
I had to fight for it all, literally.
Yeah.
I was fighting, at school,
Scrapping.
having to like fend people off for whether, I guess it was picking on me or bullying me,
Yeah.
right? The bigger guys pick on the little guys.
Yeah.
But one thing I had over them was speed,
Yeah.
right? They couldn't catch me. I mean, but when they did, or, I had to fight, but,
Yeah.
but I earned my respect by doing it that way.
Yep.
And that just kind of stuck with me. We talked about it before, down to like self-programming.
Yep.
As a kid, you don't know what you're doing really.
Yeah.
You're just experiencing, and organically things just happen. And I think that and it happened for me in a, I guess, in a good way, in the right way. And I had to do that, and that stuck with me. I had to fight all the way and prove myself all the way through high school, through college, even through professionally. But I think Daniel, wanted me to share a story while in high school at Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I didn't have a like illustrious high school career. Obviously I didn't get no scholarship offers.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got all these rankings, right? 3-star, 4-star.
Right,
I don't even know if we had that back then.
Yeah.
It was just you was good, you got a scholarship or not. Like, so I was an all sport athlete. I played, football, basketball, track, baseball. I mean, I kind of did it all.
Yeah.
And I tried to be the best that I could be.
Yeah.
Right. But I was never that guy on the team. Right. The captain or the leader or the best player, the all-star.
Even at Roosevelt.
I mean, at Roosevelt.
Maybe by your senior year?
My sophomore year when I started varsity,
Okay.
I think I made like second team all-star or something. I was okay.
Yeah.
But, you got to look at compared to the rest of the state, the rest of, what was around us, all the different schools, But my quarterback, the story is my quarterback was an unbelievable athlete. Chad Kapanui.
Chad Kapanui.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was an all-stater in 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was that guy.
Wow.
And so I'm thankful for him for being so good, right? Because that brought the eyes, that brought Coach June Jones and Coach Ron Lee from University of Hawaii at that time. They wanted to watch him throw. And so one day after school, I got called and said, "Hey, Chad, we need you to catch for cops because, Coach June Jones is coming down. They want to watch him throw." But the funny thing is our football field, because it was the home field to Roosevelt, Farrington, Kamaki, I think McKinley.
Yeah.
So our field was tore up. It was already in maintenance mode to prep for the next season.
Yeah.
So we couldn't even use our field.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you know Roosevelt, but on the back end by the pool,
Okay.
by the scoreboard,
Yeah.
it was like a little patch of grass. But it wasn't grass. It was muddy, dirt. When rain, mud gets hard, it gets kind of like lava, like sharp edges, nasty. So that's where we threw. And that's where I had to go run routes.
Wow.
And so the story is, and Coach Ron Lee can attest to this, man, I was out there. I said, in my mind, man, this was my shot. They're there to see Chad Kapanui,
Yeah.
and I think he had gotten a scholarship offer, and I was like, man, this is my shot too. I'm gonna try and show out.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, diving all over the place, catching the balls. Man, I was
Getting
scrubbed
scraped
up,
up,
bro,
yeah.
elbows, knees, but that caught the eye of Coach Ron Lee. He was a receivers coach at the time, and just that type of. Obviously I flashed my quickness. They saw that, but they saw the passion. They saw the grit. And that's kind of what helped me get an opportunity to walk on, and I guess the rest is history.
And that's kind of like a story of like a business principle too. Is like opportunity knocks.
Yeah.
Are you ready to open the door?
That's good.
And some people crack the door open. Some people bust them open. You didn't let no lava rocks stop you.
No, I got busted open, but hey, I did my share of knocking too and kicking that door down, for sure. But Pastor Mike, what were you gonna allude to there?
Oh no, I was thinking who's the patron saint of walk-ons at the time at UH? Like who's the guy? We used to be Miano.
It was Rich Miano, but it's funny
Danny Crowell.
you say walk on because that's just one part of the story. That's just one part of the reason why I walked on to University of Hawaii in the first place.
Yeah.
The other part, which I think is the most important part, is my other coach, my defensive back coach, Reggie Dela Cruz.
Yeah.
He played for University of Hawaii.
I know Reggie.
He was a walk-on.
I used to play ball against Reggie.
Baller.
Yeah, baller.
So you're gonna love this then.
Yeah.
So we served, as football players, we served lunch in the cafeteria. That was our sort of our duty.
Okay. Yeah.
One day after lunch service, right? Coach Reg is back there and he pulls me aside and says, "Hey, Owens," that's what he called me. "Owens, what's your plans?" "What do you mean?" "Like football, like this is your senior year, like next, what's next?" I said, I think I'm probably gonna go off to a JUCO or Linfield. Like I got a couple,
Linfield,
and then maybe come back,
Yeah.
transfer, and then walk on, right?
Yeah.
Or didn't transfer. I didn't even
was
know.
kind of one of the routes.
I didn't know walk on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just thought, I could transfer back. I thought I
Yeah.
needed to go and do that before I even would have a chance.
Yeah.
Coach Reg, he's like, "Why don't you just walk on to UH right now?" And I was like, "You can do that?" I didn't even know that was possible.
Mm.
And he goes, "Yeah." And so that conversation literally changed my course.
And chat real quick, because I mean, one of the missions of the Shaka Tank is to do what just happened, what you're explaining, right? So the idea of the Shaka Tank is maybe it's just one idea.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just one thought, one concept that
That's good.
one of these listeners they're like, I didn't know I could do that.
Wow.
But they hear from local Hall of Famer Chad Owens, right? And they say, oh, because if that conversation didn't happen with that guy, your whole life trajectory might have changed.
100%.
Right? Rena might not have been like, oh, no. No, she probably would have anyways. But
I already had her hooked by that time. She was already hooked.
Wait, you going Linfield? I'm going too.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, that's strong, man.
Yeah.
for me too, right? During my career, like throughout my career, I've had mentors and good company that have poured into me. And without them, I don't know where I would have been today. You know what I mean? I'm very lucky to have been not only open-minded to receiving this mentorship, but two, not stubborn where I'm like, yeah, nah, right? The attitude was open, right? And they're like, hey, so I just wanted to pause on that for a minute because I think that's a really important point because it does feel like you almost had a fork and
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
am I gonna just or no, let me listen to what this guy had to say, and now you actually went and did it because you had the information.
Well, he made it a fork because I was like literally
Yeah.
like
There
this.
you go. Wow.
If without that influence,
Yeah.
this is why we talked about your support system, people around
Yeah.
you. Like it's important because you meet somebody, you talk to somebody, you have a conversation with somebody. It could change the trajectory of your entire life.
Absolutely.
So without Coach Reggie,
Yeah.
he believed in me.
Reggie Dela Cruz.
Yeah, I almost didn't think I didn't believe myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think I had what it took.
No, that's powerful. When a coach says, "Why are you going that route?"
Yeah.
You just go straight.
Basically, he said, "You got what it takes."
Yeah.
If he doesn't say that, this UH walk-on thing and all of what transpired doesn't happen. I guarantee it.
I want to bring some context to the walk-on thing because I never played for the University of Hawaii, but I know enough guys that walked on. So when you look at the walk-on, Rich Miano, for those of you guys from the mainland, went Kaiser High School, walked on UH skinny, and then ended up making a great career for himself with the Jets. I think the Falcons too.
Eagles?
Yeah, the
Eagles.
Eagles. I knew it was green.
Maybe the Falcons too.
Yeah, he was a green uniform. With definitely the Eagles. And Coach Rich Miano, everybody wanted to pattern themselves after him because he made it to the NFL. Yeah. So you got guys like Danny Kroll, who's an old friend of mine, who was a running back. You got Dan Ohuna. You got all these different guys that walked on.
I mean, Ashley Lilly. First round pick.
Right. And Chad Owens. So the example of the walk-on, to me, is killer, bro. That's that pound for pound mentality that no matter how big you are, you can do the best with the opportunity that God has given you.
Amen to that. But it's like the walk-on mentality. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Because back, I'm sure with Coach Miano and all of when I was walk-on, it's like you were kind of like separated. The scholarship guys had the training table,
Oh, yeah, they
breakfast
ate.
provided,
They
food. They ate.
yeah, they
We
ate.
had to fend for ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, man, I want that too. You know, so I'm looking at all what they're doing. I'm trying to see how these scholarship guys, like at the beginning, you're thinking, man, they're better than me,
Mm.
right? But when you start working out with people every day, you start seeing them.
Mm.
I'm right there with this guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna pass this guy. Like I see what they do in the weight room. I'm gonna do more. Like
Mm.
so, it just created a different mentality that struggle, that person that comes from struggle, the person that comes from humble beginning, you know, that those people that for some reason, my entire career, even as a pro, I hear a lot of stories of all my teammates. I ask questions. I want to hear their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone comes that makes it for the most part. A lot of these guys come from some kind of hardship, some kind of struggle. They had to grind.
Yeah.
They got it out the mud.
Yeah.
And you say adversity fuels you. That's like, is that like I know you bring that up a lot, right? Like in your social media and when you talk, right? Like what, so do you feel like that is kind of the foundation behind all that struggle, all that toiling, right? And you realize like, hey, adversity isn't just like something I just, fall away from or I hate. Or it's like, no, this is what fuels me.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you think about it, and I'm just gonna use myself as an example, right? My life, every piece of adversity that's come my way and that I've overcame, there was some kind of growth. There was some kind of like I learned and I got better.
Yeah, it's good.
So I don't run from adversity. I'm looking for the next challenge, the
Mm.
next opposition, the next thing to make me level up. Because that's what adversity does to you. It forces you to level up. If you can't get past this level, as a kid, you're playing video games. Remember that level you used to always get stuck at
Mhm.
and getting pissed?
Right.
Well, you have to like, kept on doing it.
Mhm.
You have to try to figure it out. You have to like, oh, and when it hits you, it's like, oh, okay, now I know how to get past this guy. You get to the next level. And then there's gonna be another challenge along the way, but that's just like life, right? Adversity is those levels that of opposition that challenge you. And you're either gonna accept it, right? And
Mhm.
overcome it, or you're gonna shy away from it and
Mm.
try to find another way. Like I don't think finding another way is the way. You got to go right through that, you know. And that was my mentality, and that's why I say it's one of my sayings: adversity fuels me because I know what it does to me personally.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, when they look at your story, they see like, the Hall of Fame, they see the UH. I mean, I grew up watching you play. I mean, I remember my dad taking me right after Pop Warner practice, and I'm going straight to to go watch you play, whether it's at campus or wherever. But I think a lot of people, they see like this growth mindset that you have now. But when you started with that limited, or you started from breaking through that limited mindset, and then you had Coach Reggie kind of fork your path, right? So what would be like your encouragement to like some young kids who are out there? Maybe they feel like they're stuck in the mud, or they have those limitations too, where they're like, I'm the shortest guy, I'm the smallest guy, I'm not the fastest, I'm not. But man, like I see Chad Owens, or I see like a Pastor Mike who came from a small town. Like, how do I break past these limiting mindsets maybe I put on myself, or maybe other people put on them, to kind of get into that growth mindset?
Yeah. I think it's number one, identifying, right, and understanding that you are you're in the mud right now,
Hmm.
and then leaning on whether it's my story or other people that have done it. You have to like lean on people. You have to go out and look for motivation in a way, inspiration, whether it's podcasts, people, other athletes. Find someone that's, you're talking about someone that maybe that undersized, right? Then you got to look for the guys that are undersized and that made it. Dive into their story.
Yeah.
Mm.
Find something there
Yeah.
that what did they do?
Yeah.
Right? Don't just be stagnant and accept.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can't just accept defeat. You can't accept like being small or being short or whatever. Like you are who you are, and that's it. Like you gotta accept it. I accept as much as I kept waiting each year for my growth spurt, it never happened.
Mhm.
Like I was trying to get that thing,
Mhm.
but it never happened. And I had to accept that, man, this is who I am. This is who God's created me to be. So I'm going to use this and find a way to make this an advantage
Yeah,
for myself.
it's good.
You know, so you know what I can do, guys that are taller can't do. Guys that are bigger can't do.
Mm.
You know, so I went into the weight room because okay, I'm going to be strong then.
Mm.
I'm going to be explosive. You know, you just got to do everything in your power, in your control, to try to find your edge.
Bro, and you were super electric, bro. I'm gonna tell you right now. I had my Saturday night service, and I wish I didn't have it. Because I was about to cancel it, and the church started growing.
Damn, I'm out here canceling church services,
Bro, you guys had your run.
Yeah.
I felt like, I don't know, man, 50 people, 75 people. I think somebody else can lead this thing. I would catch you guys at the second half. I'd get into the Aloha Stadium, and I'd go sit at the top, at the end zone, so I could see the whole play develop.
Wow.
And Purdue game, Michigan State game. I just watched the whole play develop, and I'd just watch you, catch an in and out pattern as whatever it was, and and you would just run it to the house, like punt returns. Everybody was literally on the edge of their seat, knowing that something electric was about to happen. I'm not even kidding. I was in that stadium when Aloha Stadium used to bounce. I was bouncing too, bro. I was bouncing too. And I'd sit in that yellow, like the brown section, looking down just because I wanted to see it. I wasn't high-fiving nobody.
Yeah, the bird's eye view.
Myself at the bird's eye view. And, bro, you just brought a lot of joy to the state of Hawaii. You and your teammates brought a lot of joy to the state of Hawaii.
Yeah, no, it was an exciting time. And, for me, I guess the reason why I played so hard and with so much passion, the way I did it, is because I was told almost my whole life growing up, like, that I was too small. Like, I wasn't going to make it. You should try a different sport. Like, different, it's just, so every chance I got, I was proving myself. That was my mentality.
Yep.
I was proving myself. And I did that every day in practice,
Mm-hmm.
every single play. I'm proving myself. So again, to go back to that question, that's just how you have to do it. You just have to accept the fact that you have to work harder. You have to dig deeper. You have to do everything in your power to try to find your edge, gain an advantage.
Yep.
You got to diet harder.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have your nutrition on point. Like, you got to do everything that's available to you to make you a better athlete or a better person or a better worker. And that's just it. And at the end of the day, if you do all of that and it's still not enough, then at least you should be able to live with yourself and say, I gave it everything that I had.
So basically, your disadvantage could literally be your advantage if you take advantage of it.
Boom.
Right? Flip that TikTok. No, wait, so here's an interesting thing too about Hawaii, right? Like Hawaii,
We're all short. We're all undersized. Unless you live like you know what I'm saying?
right? No, but you know what I'm saying? Like there is a mentality of like, because I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs on island, and some of the energy is like, yo, we're on an island. Like, we don't have the resources mainland has, right? We don't have the connections. We don't. What do you think? Maybe the disadvantage that we think we have is not our disadvantage. Maybe that's the opportunity that lies right there. Push a little bit harder. We find out a little bit more. We dig into some areas a little deeper. What ends up happening? You start solving different problems that weren't solved before. And those problems, a lot of times, I always tell my company, I'm like, look, there's a guy, he's like, when my team comes up to me, his name's Jocko, he's like, when my team comes up to me, they're like, we got a problem. He's like, good. Because when you have a problem, that means there's an opportunity lying right there. Well, business startups in general are founded on problems. If you do a pitch deck, you don't just talk about, oh, hey, here's great, what's great. No, you're looking at, there always says, what is the problem you're solving? And they say you get paid based on the size of the problem you solve.
Come on.
You solve a little problem, you get paid a little. You solve a big problem, you get paid a lot. You know what I mean? So, and for you seem in your career, you solved a big problem and it paid off dividends.
The problem was we wasn't getting the ball into the end zone until Chad Owens showed up. And it was a regular thing, man. We were like the run and shoot was bananas. I'm telling you right now. You too young. You're from the mainland. No, just kidding. I'm from here.
Yeah.
It was like the most happening thing that ever happened in the state was the run and shoot with June Jones and when these guys were running the show, bro. It was must-see TV. I have not heard Aloha Stadium. It's down now, but rock like that ever since. Ever since.
Yeah.
It's good to hear, Chad, because I met you post all this. Like, I didn't even know about any of this stuff. So I just know Chad is Chad, bodybuilder Chad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Jack
There's
Chad.
a lot
You know
more.
what I'm saying? But no, hearing it also from Mike. By the way, real quick,
I'm not fanboying over here, bro, but I'm just telling you right now, bro. Was unreal.
Yeah. Hey, I want to take a moment because, obviously we called you Pastor Mike, right?
Yeah.
For listeners that are out there, they might not know.
But you can call me Mike.
Okay, we call you Mike. That's on the mic. But
on
so
the mic.
Mike is the pastor of Inspire Church, right? I mean, honestly, I didn't even know how. It was weird too. I've been going to Inspire for 3 years. I didn't realize how big it was. You know what I mean? Until I can't get parking nowhere.
Even I don't know. I don't want to know how big it is.
But the reality is, so you're also obviously we're doing this podcast, but you're the pastor of Inspire Church. I can give you a little background, just like who you are too, and then Pono maybe a little bit because obviously we're talking about Chad, but episode 1 would be cool to kind of just brief a little bit.
I think we all connect because we're all to some degree we're underdogs. I was born and raised on the Big Island, small town Honoka'a. Graduated 5'9", 135 pounds. Went up to the Air Force ROTC program at University of Hawaii. Crazy story. Bob Nash asked me to be one of 5 local boys to walk onto the basketball team because he was watching me, play at Gym 2 upstairs. This was before Riley Wallace, when Riley Wallace was making the transition from Frank Arnold, and they had to let go of their foreign players. So they said, hey, we're looking for 5 local boys. Would you be one of them? I said, yes. But I only had 3 classes. Leon Shoemaker told me I needed 4. And you can't take another one. You're too late, because I was expecting my little girl. I was 19 when I got my girlfriend pregnant. And that set me on my journey to, okay, that whole underdog thing. And I can't go to school anymore. Quit school, working Shell service station, Pizza Hut on Dole Avenue at the time. That's a Japanese restaurant. And wondering what's my future going to be. And so anyway, pulled myself up. The Lord helped me big time from a bad background, where I was headed. I was homicidal, probably suicidal, until finally my friends told me that you got to go to church. And so I was 21 years old, reluctantly went to church for the first time, gave my friend 1 shot. I give you 1 shot. After that, get off my back. I was working for American Airlines by then, throwing bags, the Willows as a valet. And I went to church for the first time in Kaneohe. I never heard the gospel. I never knew John 3:16, couldn't quote it for you. I just thought it was this weird guy with a rainbow afro in the end zone every time with a sign that said John 3:16 in the 80s. I didn't know what that meant. And so I walked in and I felt the presence and the love of God for the first time, acceptance, that, a single dad like me could still come into church and be accepted by the Lord. And that's how it all started. That's how my story started. So, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a Lord right there.
Praise God.
And you've been a pastor now for how long?
Geez, going almost on 28 years. Our church for 23 years.
That's consistency, right? Because I know you talk about consistency. I want to get into that too, but consistency, right? 28 years?
28 years.
Sheesh.
Yeah, 28 years as a whole. We started our church it was called Hope Chapel, West Oahu at Waikele Elementary School back in the day in 2001 with 40 people. And today, here we are, 2024, I don't even know, thousands. Yeah. And we praise God. We still try to keep that underdog mentality, stay humble, stay low, stay hungry.
That's key.
And keep reaching as many people as possible.
Love it. And you also do, just so people know, you do some coaching and stuff too, right?
I do. I do coaching, online coaching, personal one-on-one, executive C-suite. I also started the Inspire Collective, where I wanted to bring together not just church, but the other spheres of society, government, education, arts, entertainment, athletics, to help empower them to reach people in their sphere of influence. So you don't only have to be a pastor to reach people. You can reach them with your business practices, with your persona, with everything in your whole bag that God gave you. You can reach people for Jesus.
Amen. And thing is, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this or try to hide it. We're all believers. I mean, Chad, we've prayed together and stuff, but it doesn't mean that we can't talk business and we can't. I mean, I have a lot of non-believer friends. I don't think that's a problem. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
You should.
Right?
You should. If all you got is Christian friends, then you're not reaching nobody. Right?
Amen to that.
You gotta have some friends like that. Yeah.
But I love this dynamic because one thing about Mike too, I told him he's an amazing speaker just in general. There's gifts, right? People have gifts. Your gift is speed, right? And you use it in sports. Mike, his gift when I see him speak, he's able to take these really complex ideas and shrink them down into very tangible, localized like teachings, right? So that's one thing that I saw for 3 years. I was like, wow, this guy, he's really got a gift for this stuff. So I'm just glad we got to finally be here and do a podcast. I know this, we were kind of rapping about how to do these things, and honestly, it happened pretty quick. We just like, hey, let's test this out, let's figure this thing out. So that's why I call it the Shaka Tank experiment, because it's like, yo, and at the end of this thing, one of the experiments is gonna be like, hey, can you link us up with 3 people? That's one thing we try to do at the end of every podcast. Is like, hey, you got 3 people that might want to come on here, and that'd be kind of cool to see how this thing keeps moving with just this constant referral and collection of stories and sharing them and see what happens in Hawaii. You know what I mean? The goal is to transform Hawaii through verbal messages, right? And affecting the mind, like kind of like that coach did to you, and hopefully inspire the next generation to go off and be entrepreneurs and businessmen or successful in sports, whatever it might be that they have a future calling to be successful in. But one of the things I said on the pilot or zero episode is, hey, you judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree, it'll always feel dumb and stupid. You feel me? You take a fish off of the tree, put him in the water, all of a sudden it feels smart, it's brilliant. And I think a lot of people are just trying to climb trees and they ain't monkeys. You know what I mean? They're fishes. And it's like what you did. Hey, you honed in and you got the speed down. You knock that out and you use that as your advantage. And I think, Hawaii in general, we could use a lot of that, right? Like identifying our strengths and quadrupling down on that. You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that too, I think Hawaii people's mindset is like, oh, we want to be like the mainland. We want to do all these things, and I want to play like someone else, or I want to pastor or speak like someone else. But I think it's important, like for us, for Chad and Pastor Mike, like who are local boys who are doing it big here. I think for them, like now the mainland's looking at them and saying like, man, how do we get that? Like, how do we do what they're doing? And so I think it's just such a interesting dynamic and just a flip of the switch because, for us, we're looking at the mainland or Asia and like, how can we do those things? Pastor Mike and Chad, they're like, no, like we're going to make, Pastor Mike says all the time, like, I want to make my own grass green. And so he's making his own grass green. He's building his church. He's building his gifts and his talents. And now people are looking at us and looking at Pastor Mike saying, how can I do that? And that's why they're part of the coaching. And same with Chad. People are like, man, like Canada's looking at him like, man, we want some of that flair up in CFL because that's what we want. That's what we're looking for. And so I think that's such a cool thing. For me as a young local kid growing up here, always looking at the
Moanalua. Come on, shout out Moanalua, Many Hoonies. Yeah, so when I think about when that quote, I always say, make your own grass green. You know where I got that from? Coach Pat Hill. So Pat Hill, if for those of you wondering who's Pat Hill, he was from the Fresno
State. Yeah.
That's your guys' #1 rival at one point, right? But he and Coach Jones were tight. They're close. See him walking up and down that sidewalk. I mean, that sideline with his walrus, mustache. And I think Ferd Lewis asked him a question. I cut it out because it meant so much to me. Because we were in a hot elementary school, no air conditioning, and you got mega churches down the street. They get AC. They look great. They speak great, but we're sweating it out over here at Waikele. So I was kind of like in some angst. How come we're not growing? How come we not? Well, I want us to grow, but trying to figure it out. Coach Pat Hill gets quoted by Ferd Lewis, who says, how come you're not coaching at another school? You've been beating all these other teams, Auburn, you're going to Alabama, you beat USC down the road. Why are you still with a mid-major? And this is what he said. Well, everybody says the grass is greener on the other side. He said, I just figure I'll make my own grass green. And I cut that out. That's been on my wall for almost 20 years. Make your own grass green. And you've done that with your life. You've done that even to this day. What you're doing, we don't want to skip the career, but let's look at, you get drafted, you go to the Jags. From the Jags, you end up at
Arena League.
Arena.
One year, yeah.
Hey, so can we do this? So you brought up Fresno State, and I know a little bit of this story. So So you get walk on to UH, right? And then you said there was a game, like you weren't getting playing time, and then it was against Fresno State, right? Yo, can you tell the story real quick? Yeah.
So I mean, how did I get to start playing at Hawaii? Right, while getting there, obviously redshirted my first year, but my next year, I was still a red shirt freshman, still a walk on, and I think it was game 3 or something of the season, 3 or 4, maybe 3. We were playing Fresno State at home, and our return at the time just wasn't getting it done, right? And so halftime, I'm just kicking it just like this in the locker room with the other walk-ons, and we're just, hey, bro, it's just cool, right? Like, just thinking we're not playing, like we're not gonna play, like
Mm-hmm.
In comes Coach Tyson Hilton, who is at oh man, where's he at? He's the head coach at UH. Just played them last year, the year before. Anyway, he was our special teams coach. Comes storming in the locker room, looks at me, CO, you're returning the second half kickoff, and it walks off.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what? And all my boys, like Britt Comine, who else was there? I mean, just a few of the other walk-ons, just, oh, it's your time, it's your time, it's your time, let's go. And I'm just like, man, it's all just kind of
Yeah.
happening, right? Nervous, excited. And then, bro, we break. I strap on the helmet, we run out the tunnel. I'm on the sideline in the huddle of the kickoff return unit. We say, hey, it's gonna be, I think it was like left return or whatever. And I'm back there, and here comes the kick. And I take it and I go about 70. And the safety just had an angle on me.
Yeah.
Just edged me out.
Oh.
And the rest is history. I mean, the other cool thing about that story, that game, was at the end of the game, on a punt return, we were winning, and coach just said, hey, just fair catch this, secure it, game's over. So that's what I did, right? And that was the only time I fair caught a football in college.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
So
That's
this is an
crazy.
interesting story because I've talked to Chad about this. So entire career in college, never has a fair catch. So I say that this is one of the most transformative parts. So obviously there's the success parts, right? But every hero has like their adversity, right? That thing that they have to overcome. And I call it the muff punt. I was like, yo, you should just call your book called The Muff Punt, because I think that's a more interesting story, how you overcome, maybe the lowest of lows, right? So you get drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And then what happens? Like, so fast forward to you saying like you never did a fair catch, and you said, I remember you told me something. You're like, yeah, it's kind of weird when you.
Yeah, so with that, like, I had the most confidence in the world, right? Playing at the University of Hawaii, and
Yep.
returning punts was second nature.
Mm.
I never thought of. I never had to think.
Yeah.
So my rookie year in the NFL, I'm pretty sure you guys remember this. I had some struggles in the preseason for some reason with the decision making of, do I fair catch this? Do I have to let it go? Like, so because I didn't really have much of that experience in college,
Right.
now I'm having to think about, am I on the 10-yard line? Like, am I over the 10-yard? Because if you're inside the 10 or 8, they say let it go. So it was like a learning curve, something that I've never really had to do or think about all throughout college, because it was just, I'm catching everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to score every time.
Yeah.
But that almost became a disadvantage for me, being put in a situation where I was now like, oh, do I fair catch this? Or,
Yeah.
so now I'm not naturally just playing. I'm overthinking.
Wow.
And that's what kind of messed me up. As you guys know, in my first game was against Indianapolis in Indy. I muffed like 2 punts, mishandled another one, and then I was waived and put on practice roster the next day. So, and to me, it was almost like, that was the most devastating, one of the most devastating times of my career, just because I was at such a high, and then I went to an extreme low like that. It was legit overnight. But it's just funny that we could talk about how, wow, you never fair caught. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, man, maybe if I did practice more of those situational things in college, I would have been more comfortable to do it. As a rookie, But again, that's just that it happened. And what do you do?
Yep.
Do you go the other way, or you try and correct it? And I went back to work and corrected it. I ended up being the starting returner the next year again. I started,
Yeah.
but I got a rib injury that put me out, and then it fizzled out. It didn't end up working out for me in the NFL.
Mhm.
Hey, I mean, would I have rather have had a 10-year career in the NFL? Absolutely, that would have been amazing. Financially, that would have been life changing. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't trade my path
Yeah.
for anything
Wow.
because it allowed me to go to Canada with those experiences, with an even bigger hunger
Mm.
to continue to prove myself again,
Mm-hmm.
like I did at Hawaii, because I was like the walk on at so it was almost like I was back to that same place.
Mm.
And then it showed in my entire Canadian Football League career. Like, so it's like, it's
Okay,
almost
list
like
them off.
then
List them
that's
off.
the guy.
Hey, yo, now's the time. It's the records. Hey,
Nah.
no, a couple, just so the audience knows, because they might not know who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I my first year playing in 2010, I got traded to the Argos from Montreal. I was a special teams player of the year that year.
Wow.
I
Wow.
went for over 3,000 all-purpose yards.
Jeez.
2011, I became the first player in pro football history to go for back-to-back over 3,000 all-purpose yards
Oh my
again.
goodness.
And in 2012, I did it again. So in 3
Wow.
years in a
That
row,
three-peat.
over 3,000 yards. I had over 4,000 yards in 2012,
Wow.
including the playoffs. And then MVP that year, or MOP they call it, the most outstanding player. It's like
Okay.
the MVP.
Yeah.
And we won the Grey Cup that year. And I led the league in receiving. And so it was
And
sort
today,
of like
and today, what you are now?
And today, I'm a CFL Hall of Famer, which
Hey.
is
That's
incredible.
incredible. Come on, brother.
But
That's
but
amazing.
so again, without
Hey,
the story, right? Without these lows, and we talk about growth mindset.
Yeah.
You got to go through the lows, man,
Mm.
in order to get. I'm not a Hall of Famer if I don't muff that punt, right? It's
Wow.
just it's not
Yeah.
it's not happening.
Mm.
And I may have gone on to play a few more years in the NFL and kind of
Mm-hmm.
okay, I would have liked to have thought that I would have played for a long time, but we don't know because that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
That wasn't what was happening. But so it's like Hall of Fame doesn't happen if I don't muff the punt. UH doesn't happen if Coach Reggie doesn't instill that in me. There's a lot of things that don't happen if people don't interject, if adversity doesn't happen, if I don't move to or I don't meet my wife, I don't have, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just things happen in life. And I guess what I'm saying is you just go through life the best as you can. And when things happen, you accept it, you learn from it, figure it out, and you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to keep moving forward, right? And upwards. That's the goal is to kind of keep trending that way. And at the end of the day, you just got to be happy with what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, and I speak to a lot of people, and they literally don't appreciate sort of what they've done or where they're at. They're so focused on the end goal,
Yeah.
and you miss out on everything right here.
Yeah.
So I think just sort of enjoying the process, the highs, the lows, and just literally like that one day at a time kind of mentality. Like, man, let's maximize today. The saying that stuck with me since being in Montreal in 2009 when I first got to the CFL, that coach, man, their theme was win the day.
Mm.
So if you just focus on winning today,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Hey, I got up at 5:30 because I wanted to try to start waking up earlier, or I'm gonna get a workout. Whatever it is that's gonna give you a win for the day. You gotta you gotta appreciate that. You gotta be proud of that of yourself.
It's good.
Well, hey, Chad, I appreciate you hopping on the first episode of the Shaka Tank. Hey, you down to be a regular? I mean, this vibe is good, right? You down to?
No, yeah, I love this stuff, man. I can talk story all day, and it's I don't really like to talk about myself a whole lot. I mean, I've got a lot of stories to tell based on my career, but I love doing this. I love giving perspective, and we can definitely do more of this. I'm down.
So one of the things that I love about you though is like you said, it's almost walk on mentality or walk on. I call it day one humility, right? And it's like you kind of have that in general. So I appreciate you even exploring and venturing into this whole podcasting thing. Like, and if would love, I mean, Mike and Pono, would you be down having chat on?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I still got way more stuff I like to ask. Incredible story, illustrious career. We gotta mine that. We gotta juice that.
There's a lot to be juiced here.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's go. And then just as we end this, right? I like to just ask like a couple like golden nuggets of wisdom, right? So if you were to inspire the next, no pun intended, but if you were to inspire the next generation of successful entrepreneurs, athletes, just anyone that's trying to be successful in Hawaii, right? Maybe just a couple nuggets of wisdom you'd like to share with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think number one, you got to believe in yourself.
Okay.
From day one,
Yep.
if you don't have self-belief, like no one else is gonna do it for you. I needed that extra push, but it doesn't mean that I didn't believe in myself. You know, I didn't believe in my abilities. I knew what I could do, but sometimes you need that extra push.
Yeah.
So with that being said, believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that are either in the space that you're trying to be in, that have done what you're trying to do, and then like, and be around people that are smarter than you or better than you in that field as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're the smartest person in the room,
Mm-hmm.
the saying goes, you got to find a different room.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that growth mindset. So believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that are better than you.
And then how can people find you? So socials and like you got a new website?
Well, ChatOwens.co. I think we just locked that down. We're gonna have
ChatOwens.co. See, I love that.
Co. Yeah, not co. Co.
CO.
I like it.
Like the Chad Owens. Okay, and then like social media.
Yeah, obviously Instagram at ChatOwens too. That's probably the best way to connect. But yeah.
All right.
Exciting stuff, man. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
All right. Appreciate you,
Yes,
Chad.
I got it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Thanks for coming, bro.
Pastor Mike, thank you, man. Yeah, your story is unbelievable. We got to juice that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank
Well,
you.
no, thanks, brother.
Hey, so thanks for tuning into the Shaka Tank. I'm Daniel.
CO.
Mike.
Oh no.
I can catch you next time.